All right, it's time for an overview of the skeletal system. So we're going to be going over functions and some key facts about the skeletal system. So let's get to it. Here are the standards and objectives. You know the drill. Pause and peruse. Okay, parts of the skeletal system. So in an adult human, there's 206 bones. Infants are going to have more. Ligaments connect bone to bone. Cartilage covers the ends of bones. It reduces friction. And joints or articulations are places where bones meet. So the parts of the skeletal system: bones, joints, ligaments, and cartilage. What are the four parts of the skeletal system? Do you remember them? Bones, joints, ligaments, and cartilage. Some functions of the skeletal system. Support. So it's structural support for the body, right? It gives your body shape. It's also a framework for the attachment of tissue. So a lot of muscle tissue, for example, attaches to bone. The skeletal system also functions as a reserve for calcium salt, so it's storage, but also there are lipids, fats, stored in yellow marrow. So the skeletal system stores minerals and it also stores fat. Another function of the skeletal system is hematopoiesis, which is blood cell formation. So in red marrow, remember yellow marrow was fat storage, so we're talking red marrow. Red marrow produces the formed elements of blood, so red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. So stem cells in red marrow produce those various blood components: red blood cells, erythrocytes, white blood cells, leukocytes, platelets, thrombocytes. What's another function? Well, protection. So for example, the pelvis protects digestive, well, some of anyway, and the reproductive organs. The ribs protect your heart and lungs. The skull or cranium protects your brain. The vertebrae protect your spinal cord. All right, another function of the skeletal system: leverage. So because bones have muscles attached to them, bones can serve to change the magnitude and the direction of the force generated by the muscles. A little bit of physics. Okay, so give examples of how bones provide protection. We talked about this. Do you remember? The cranium, right, protects your brain. The ribs protects your heart and lungs. Pelvis protects part of your digestive organs and your reproductive organs. And the vertebrae protect your spinal cord. True or false? Red blood cells are produced in the skeletal system. It's true. Hematopoiesis occurs in red marrow. So stem cells produce the formed elements of blood: red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Okay, two main types of bone tissue. Okay, types of bone tissue. So we have compact bone and we have spongy bone. Spongy bone is also called cancellous bone. Compact bone is relatively solid, and normally that's what we think of when we think of bone. It's how we picture bone, okay? It's white, it's hard, it can withstand force, and it provides support and protection. And then we have spongy bone, which is a network of bony rods, but there's a lot of spaces in between. So that's not usually how we picture bone. But the purpose of spongy bone is to make the skeleton lighter, which allows us to move, which that's good, and it's an important part. Okay, what type of bone tissue, so we just talked about two, is found along the superficial surface of a long bone? That's going to be compact bone. That's what you think of when you think of a bone. So it's what you see on the outside. Sinuses. Okay, sinuses are hollow portions in your bone. They're also called the paranasal sinuses. They're all around the nasal region. They surround the nasal cavity, and you could see the names of the various sinuses, which I'm not going to require that you remember. But what are the functions of the sinuses? Well, they lighten the skull. That's good, so we're not like struggling to like keep our head up in an upright position. Also, so that we don't have gigantic necks to try to do that. It also serves to amplify the voice, so it creates a little bit of a louder voice. It also adds resonance to the voice, so it changes the intensity and the quality of the tone, which is why when you're stuffed up, the sound of your voice changes because those sinuses get clogged. So when your voice sounds weird, because the sinuses are not being used to be able to add that resonance to your voice. That's why your voice changes when you're stuffy. So what is a function of sinuses? Do you remember? We just talked about a few. They lighten the skull, right? So we don't have like heads flopped over or gigantic neck muscles. Amplifies the voice, so makes it a little louder. Also adds resonance, so changes that quality and tone, which is why your voice sounds so strange when you're stuffy. And there you have it. It's an overview of the skeletal system. And you know it. Today, I hope you learned something new.